The air was thick with expectation as the Curse of Oak Island team set off on their current mission in the Season 11 premiere with unrelenting commitment. They set out to discover the mysteries lingering beneath the surface of the island. In an unexpected turn of events, their efforts were rewarded almost immediately with the discovery of a pile of buried wealth that sent shockwaves through the entire team. Their intuition, developed over years of hunting the elusive, did not go unnoticed. The harsh beep of the metal detector soon broke the silence, exposing the first mysterious piece of history. With its old and weathered features, this old coin suggested a Roman connection, similar to a half-Roman coin recovered in the same area barely a year before. Only 30 yards away from this newly discovered mystery was a half-Roman coin carrying the unquestionable stamp of a civilization that had left its mark between 300 BC and 600 AD. The hints of a hidden story began to emerge, like a complex puzzle being pieced together. The dynamic team then unveiled yet another coin, improving the stakes. Marty Lagina and Craig Tester were summoned to join the developing story. Soon, they had two more strange coins in their hands, relics from an earlier time. With mixed emotions, the trio resorted to the experts, the Oak Island archaeologists, to determine the origin and importance of their newly discovered treasures. Moments before they were forced to halt their search operations owing to the impending arrival of winter, Rick Marty and metal detection expert Gary Drone detected non-ferrous or precious metal targets down below the bottom of the garden shaft. Once new licenses had been obtained, Dumas returned to deepen the hole by 20 feet, with the possibility of constructing lateral tunnels depending on what was discovered below. Over the last 2 years, geoscientist Dr. Ian Spooner and his colleagues, including hydrogeologist Dr. Fred Michael, have been analyzing water samples from numerous boreholes that Rick, Marty, Craig, and their incredible teams have dug. These tests have revealed evidence of gold, silver, and other metals between depths of 80 and 120 feet. The Bobby Blob, which is located several feet west of the garden shaft, has the highest concentration in a zone. The team has also discovered a suspected tunnel at a depth of 95 feet that appears to run almost precisely beneath the garden shaft. While waiting for Doomy to return to deepen the garden shaft, the team continued with their strategic core drilling program throughout the surrounding area. Rick, Marty, and the team will know exactly where tunnels may be extended from the bottom of the garden hole, allowing them to solve the Oak Island mystery. Although the quest for the famous treasure vault continues in the Money Pit area, archaeologist Lar Niban and his colleagues assisted the crew in making some remarkable discoveries in other sections of the island. Lot 26 was one of them, and the crew explored a stone wall that could be more than 5 centuries old, as well as a Portuguese design alongside the stone. On the other hand, Jack Begley did well with an unusual, non-ferrous target during the quest for the Roman coin with Rick. But what did they find this time? A lead barter token, which was probably used as currency several centuries ago. It wasn't made of gold or silver, but let's stress one more thing. Lead objects discovered on Oak Island have occasionally turned out to be the most important hints for solving the puzzle. Emma Colligan, an archaeometallurgist, examined the token and came to some very interesting conclusions about its potential origins. The Lot 5 token was a perfect compositional match to the lead cross from the 14th century, indicating that both came from southern France, where the Knights Templar were still dominant until the early 13th century. It's interesting to note that the lead in the disc and the lead in the lead cross seem to match almost exactly. The finding of the cross is another extremely important item that may link the Templars to this area. After that, everything else will fall into place. Rick, Marty, and Craig teamed up with metal detector expert Gary Drayton on Lot 5, near the center of Oak Island, to look for fresh clues near the place where 4 ancient coins were previously discovered. Rick and his team had only recently arrived at Lot 5, but they had already discovered a number of spectacular discoveries, including tools and a musket ball that may predate the 16th century. Nonetheless, they discovered a hand-forged half-coin, possibly the oldest ever created on Oak Island. Gary Drayton has received permission from archaeologist Laird Niven to dig up a number of metal targets that he had previously identified. Another possible historic tool was discovered. Is it possible that Gary and Rick discovered additional proof suggesting people were operating on Lot 5 prior to the discovery of the Money Pit? If that was the case, who was it? What were they doing in the middle of Oak Island anyway? Archaeologists Laird Niven and Helen Sheldon, together with Craig Tester, joined Rick, Marty, and Gary Drayton on Lot 5, located on the western side of Oak Island, to inspect a number of potentially significant discoveries. However, they contacted Sandy Campbell, a numismatic specialist, to explain everything about the coins discovered. Rick, Marty, and Craig Tester accompanied numismatist Sandy Campbell to the Interpretive Center to speak with Gary Drayton and Laird Niven. Using his 40 years of experience, Sandy examined the rare and antiquated coins. The crew hoped he could figure out where the 4 mystery coins recovered on Lot 5 earlier in November 2023 came from. The second coin found on Lot 5 has been proven to be more than 1,000 years old and of Roman origin. The question now is, when were they taken to Oak Island, and who had brought them there? Sandy was given the third coin for identification. The first coin discovered was an English coin, the second a Spanish coin, the third an Indian coin, and the fourth a Chinese coin. Now, who gathered all these strange and unrelated coins? The fifth coin was subsequently identified as obviously having a Roman design, indicating that it was a Roman coin. It describes a masculine portrait with a pointed chin and a larger nose, yet on the reverse, it depicts 2 conjoined people. It is the oldest coin ever discovered on Oak Island because it is most likely from BC, which means it is over 2,000 years old. Meanwhile, the puzzle is expanding. 3 Roman coins were discovered on Oak Island. If there is an ancient treasure, it may contain old items, including a component of Roman coins. In 2016, Zena Halpern shared with the team a claimed 14th century map of Oak Island that she believed was drawn by Knights Templar members, as well as a second alleged Templar map of Nova Scotia dating back to the 12th century. Since then, Rick, Marty, and other team members have visited a number of sites in Europe that served as strongholds for the Knights Templar between the 12th and 16th centuries, notably in England and Italy, both of which were originally part of the Roman Empire. And they have seen sculptures and structures comparable to those found on Oak Island in each of these locations. Could Rick Lagina be true in his claim that the ancient Roman coins were discovered on Lot 5? And do the odd buildings uncovered all around the island suggest that Zena Halpern has located the true source of the Oak Island mystery? Evidence of a covert tunnel is found by Gary. Could the numerous unresolved questions be resolved by this hidden tunnel? To learn more, keep watching. In a current episode of The Curse of Oak Island, the team, which also consists of archaeologists Dr. Aaron Taylor and Miriam Amaralt, geoscientist Dr. Ian Spooner, and metal detector expert Gary Drayton, examines stone walkways and a potential cellar feature close to the swamp's eastern border. During their investigation, Gary and David uncover a signal embedded in a wall, which eventually results in the finding of a huge caster wheel hidden beneath. Gary speculates that this wheel would have been used on Oak Island during a tunneling project, adding to the other finds of tunneling equipment on the island. Gary finds evidence of a hidden tunnel, which raises the question of whose responsibility it was to place the item there in the first place, and whose it was to find it afterwards. The original depositors or the later searchers. The team plans to carry out more investigation into the caster wheel in light of this discovery. In the vicinity of the marsh's eastern edge, metal detectorist Gary Drayton and the rest of the team are searching for stone pathways and a possible underground structure. Along with Dr. Aaron Taylor and Miriam Amaralt, the team also includes Dr. Ian Spooner, a geoscientist, and other archaeologists. In the midst of their excavation, Gary and David find a signal in a wall, so they ask Aaron to assist them by taking it out. On Oak Island, Gary thinks there may have been a tunneling operation and they discover a big caster wheel that may have been used in that. It is unclear whether or if this find was left by depositors or searchers, because it adds to the body of evidence of earlier tunneling tools discovered on the island. The group wants to store this discovery away for later investigation because it has caught their attention. Treasure hunter Gary Drayton used a metal detector and discovered not one but 2 distinct treasures. In the general area of Oak Island's shoreline, he made his first discovery. Drayton and his team found a button from an officer's uniform from the 17th century, although it is unknown to what branch of the armed forces it may have belonged. The military, on the other hand, might have buried some of the island's secrets, according to some evidence. Drayton and his colleagues made the second discovery that day not too far away, in a woodland. They found a tiny coin buried in the ground that they suspected to be another Maravedi from the 17th century, similar to the one that had been found at the end of the previous season. However, compared to the other coins, this one appeared to be significantly smaller, likely 2 Maravedis instead of 8. Even though they are small, these astonishing finds could point to a much bigger treasure that is hidden on Oak Island. Gary Drayton made a second double discovery while using his metal detector to search for wealth near Oak Island's shoreline. This time, Drayton and his team, along with Rick Lagina, the team leader from Oak Island, unearthed 2 King Charles II Britannia coins from the 17th century buried beneath the rocks and pyrite that were scattered along the shore. One of the coins that was found has the year 1771 clearly printed on its surface, supporting the idea that the money is older than a few hundred years. These coins from the 17th century, whence did they originate? Could they have been dropped accidentally by somebody searching for buried treasure in a hurry? Or else, and this is where there is reason for optimism, could they have been left there by a wealthy group that was on Oak Island looking to conceal its own loot? The Oak Island crew would, without a doubt, have to do more investigation. Generally speaking, the history of treasure hunting on Oak Island can be traced back to the time the money hole was dug there. The pit, commonly known as the money pit, is supposed to contain the hidden wealth. An artificially made hole is the pit. According to folklore, when exploring the island in 1795, some young people believed to be 13 or 14 years old discovered a depression in the ground. They dug because they believed it to be a man-made pit, and as they dug, they discovered layers of wood and other objects. They tried to continue their exploration, but were thwarted by a deluge of unknown origin that flooded the pit. Following the rapid dissemination of the news of the discoveries, a flurry of international treasure hunters descended upon Oak Island in search of the hidden wealth. The first planned excavation of the money pit took place in 1803, under the leadership of a group of investors known as the Onslow Company. They were given their own money pit. The excavations had to be terminated because the party's attempts to descend to the pit's floor were unsuccessful. The following century saw a variety of groups try to solve the island's riddles, but due to the enormous difficulties they encountered, none of them were successful. The hole was flooded, which was the most significant of these, and made additional excavation unsafe and difficult. The importance of this aspect was the greatest of all. Additionally, the pit was wired with a number of devices that, when activated, would cause the pit to fill with water and keep anybody from discovering the treasure. Despite these barriers, the excavations persisted, and the Oak Island Treasure Company was founded in 1861. The flooding that was taking place in the pit prevented this specific squad's attempts from progressing past a depth of 90 feet. As a result of the bankruptcy of the Oak Island Treasure Company in 1909, the excavations were abruptly ended at that time. Since then, a number of additional teams have tried to locate the riches that is hidden on Oak Island, but the enigma of the money pit has remained a secret. The discovery of the money pit and the initial excavations on the island both had a significant impact on the evolution of the island's history, as well as the ongoing search for treasure there. Even with the challenges and roadblocks that were encountered, this is true. Despite the various challenges and disappointments that have been encountered over the centuries-long search for riches on Oak Island, the mystery surrounding the island's location continues to fascinate people. The quest to unravel the mystery surrounding the island has recently been taken on by a number of new entities. In 2010, the Oak Island Tourism Society was founded as a group dedicated to preserving the island's history and encouraging tourism. The most notable change to have taken place in recent years is this one. The Oak Island Archaeological Society has played an important role in raising public knowledge of Oak Island and the treasure hunt, in addition to participating actively in several archaeological digs on the island. Get on the mailing list right away to learn about fresh information and surprising findings about Oak Island. The Lagina brothers will probably receive the lion's share of the treasure, it appears. First of all, the Lagina brothers' ongoing search of Oak Island is authorized by the Treasure Trove license. Licensed treasure hunters are allowed to legally keep 90% of any wealth they uncover, according to a government rule. Marty goes on to suggest that it is very likely that multiple claimants would surface and argue that they had a right to the treasure's contents if a sizable treasure were found on Oak Island. These claimants may rely on some element of their residence, their ancestry, or another factor to support their claims. There will undoubtedly be a lot of people trying to get their hands on at least some of the fabled riches, but it is impossible to say who, if anyone, will be successful. The Lagina brothers and the government would both have legitimate rights over at least some share of the treasure, making them the obvious choice for at least two recipients. However, it is impossible to predict if a situation like this would ever happen in The Curse of Oak Island. Team of researchers are shocked by my shocking revelation. For additional information, watch the video after this one.